There's three different ways to grow a business. The first one is the accountant's favorite. Second way, and this is where most people get a bit caught out, but there is one thing more important than that. And I think it's more mindset related than it is like practical business stuff.
Think you need more clients to make more money? Dead wrong. That mindset creates what Robin Waite calls the sales cycle of doom. Robin, founder of Fearless Business and best-selling author of Take Your Shot, has spent 20 years proving the opposite. His shocking pricing psychology reveals a 5% price increase lets you dump 11% of your clients while keeping the same profit. Hit 15%, you can work with 25% fewer people. You'll learn why most entrepreneurs suffer from Pavlov's dog syndrome, mindlessly chasing clients while amplifying losses. Robin breaks down this productization framework that transforms hourly workers into premium price business owners, plus the fearless mindset shift that separates successful entrepreneurs from everyone else stuck trading time for money. Robin Waite, how are you doing? Welcome back to the pod.
I'm really honored that you invited me back, especially for the 200th episode, Scherrie. I'm very proud to be back again. Thank you.
I'm just going to be honest. I feel like I shortchanged you last time. There was so much good information that you were providing. We definitely want to get you back to talk more about your coaching business and what it means for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to start?
One thing for our listeners who have not had the privilege of hearing the previous episode that was released in February, we're going to put that in the show notes so that they can get it. Tell us a little bit about your coaching program briefly, because I know we've covered that, but I definitely want to talk about some of the transformations that people are getting with your coaching program and why being fearless is a must for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with where Fearless came back. This might be going back over what we went through in the previous episode, but just for a recap for everybody who happened to catch that, the term Fearless was a bit of a happy accident. I did a talk in front of about 150 people, and I said this phrase: business owners need to fear the things in business ever so slightly less that hold them back from achieving their dreams. And my good friend Adam, who was in the audience, and I was mid-flow in my talk, he just stood up and went, "Robin Waite, the fearless business coach." And I realized at that point that throughout my career, there was a lot of fear and it had been holding me back. So really simple things like standing out and being myself. So I thought when I started coaching 9 years ago, business coaching, that I needed to have a button-down shirt, chinos and smart, shiny shoes. And as you can see, Scherrie, I'm the t-shirt and jeans guy. I realized that, not that there's anything wrong with those style of coaches, but I realized in that moment when Adam said that, I was worried about if I showed up in my t-shirt and jeans, how people would receive me. I think this is really common amongst a lot of business owners, especially in the small business community. We have two sides to our personalities where one, we deeply want to show up authentically and be ourselves, but what ultimately ends up happening is we show up how we think others want us to show up. And then we wonder why we don't connect with people, why they don't buy our products and services, or why we can't express our amazing value and to them. We can't articulate a lot of those things. And so now my goal is, I work primarily with just small one-person businesses, reflects very much my own business journey. I've always run a small business. The most team members I've had is 5 during my agency days. And a lot of those business owners, they are afraid of standing up and doing a 60-second pitch at a BNI networking meeting. They're afraid to be, when they do videos and podcast interviews, to speak their mind and say what they want to say versus what they think the listeners want to hear, for example. And the list goes on. Raising your prices as well is very scary for a lot of people. Immediately brings back awful memories of when their parents used to argue about anything to do with money in the household. My job is to essentially create a happy group of fearless business owners who show up authentically and deliver remarkable results for their clients. And in the process, have a bit of fun as well, not take it too seriously, create a bit more time for themselves. Again, there's too many business owners who create jobs and 10 years drifts by and their kids are now grown up and they have a lot of regrets because they wanted to spend more time with them and things like that, essentially.
Yeah, I love the way that you frame showing up as your authentic self, because sometimes we think that there's a certain image that we have to portray for people to take us seriously. Here we are, 2025, and there's so much about just being your authentic self and showing up and being not afraid to let people know that, yeah, I like wearing jeans. I work better with jeans. What are some of the other challenges you are seeing with your current clients
coming into the first quarter of 2025 that you have not seen in previous quarters or previous years?
Yeah, so I'm predicting a massive shift in marketing actually this year compared to previous years. There's still so much noise on social media and things like that these days. I've been in business 20 years, and there's a whole history of three major changes that have happened over those 20 years in marketing. First one, there's been a massive explosion in the number of businesses that have formed. The second big shift is fast internet. So everything's been made more accessible, and it's easier to get a business online and communicate with this global marketplace. And then the third thing is obviously social media. So everybody, you've got all these connected networks online now. We have this perception marketing should be easy. I think this is the year we're going to see a regression in online and digital marketing and social media. People are going to realize that it's going to be far more about building relationships on a one-to-one basis with people, much deeper relationships and partnerships. You only have to look at the podcast industry. I've seen that the changes with podcasting is quite often it's a year or two ahead of the rest of the industry when it comes to marketing. So we're seeing this big resurgence in these long form podcast interviews, for example, very personal, in-person sort of podcasts where you've got the likes of Joe Rogan's been doing this for years, but you're starting to see now the likes of Steve Bartlett. There's a number of celebrities now in the UK, especially, and overseas, where they've started to build their own podcasts, and they're long form 2 or 3 hour deep dives, getting to know people. That's really where trust is elicited. So I think we're going to see long form content having a big resurgence, like very deep interviews. We're going to see a lot more people building partnerships rather than social media where you're building your audience one by one. We're going to see lots more collaborations now because, hey, look, it's taken me 9 years to get 6,000 people into my email list, but my friend Ali over here has got 1.5 million people in his email list. I could flog a dead horse by continuing to grow my audience or make friends with somebody like Ali and his 1.5 million email subscribers, and we can figure something out so that it's mutually beneficial. So I think partnerships are going to kick off in a big way. And the big transition there is the difference between short-term and long-term thinking when it comes to growing a business. Short-term thinking is like, I need money. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to put food on my table. So I'll blast out a load of posts on social media and cross my fingers and hope that the winning lottery ticket falls on my lap and I get a client from it and maybe make some money. And 99% of all of this noise, I did a video actually about it recently where somebody asked me, like, what does this look like? Paint a picture for me. And I was like, imagine you took all of the small business owners in the world and you line them up on the edge of the Grand Canyon and they're all just shouting into the abyss, buy my stuff. That's what's going on with marketing. And then there's this guy, let's call him Jamie, who you turn around and you see this guy, Jamie, and he's got 100 people stood around him, sat there intently listening and really engaged. And he's hanging off every word. And you're like, oh, this looks interesting. So you step away from the crowd. Again, being fearless, you see everybody doing this stuff. You think you should be doing it. And then you're like, no, actually, quit that. I'm going to do something else. So you walk over and you listen to him. Jamie's talking intently. And then Jamie, because you've built a partnership with him, he recognizes you and he goes, oh, hey, Rob. These people like, hey guys, this is Rob. He's got this cool stuff about pricing and being fearless in sales. You should listen to him. So he invites you over and now you're there holding court with his audience that he's great, quietly, just intently listening to you now. And I think there's this concept of, but to build partnerships, imagine that relationship between Jamie and Rob, to how many months or years that both of them invested into that friendship, that partnership in order to get to that point where Jamie would just put Rob in front of his audience. Most small business owners don't have the patience. They want quick wins, quick leads, and quick sales. Partnerships take years. And so taking the time to forge partnerships, I think people are going to be like, start opening their eyes this year and spend more time building deep and meaningful relationships with people. There's this concept I want everybody to remember, which is, you know, when you're building wealth, right? All of the money coaches and people who have wealth, they're like, build multiple streams of income. If you want future security and to grow your wealth, when the chips are down, with one stream of income, you'll have 6 others to make up for it and you'll still be growing your wealth. It's the same when it comes to marketing and lead gen. I want people to imagine that we have like multiple streams of leads operating at the same time. So we have our short-term stuff, could be social, it could be video, it could be other things. We have our mid-term stuff, which is like marketing assets, which hold value, like podcasts like this. It could be writing a book, running events that people come along to online or offline. But then we have the super long-term stuff, the partnerships, where it could be months, if not years, before one of those partnerships comes off. And then bang, you get 3,000 leads just like that because they put you on a podcast or in front of their audience speaking at an event or whatever it might be.
And so, Robin, you have the benefit. You've been doing this 20 plus years. But for someone who may be new, and this may seem overwhelming, how would you recommend that they just allocate their time? You have the building partnership portion of this. It may be that you don't have an email list and you're looking to grow your list. And then you're doing all the things that basically keep the lights on. What sort of advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's looking to do all the things and still arrive at this point to where they have these opportunities in front of them?
Yeah, the short and midterm stuff. The short term is you could be putting 20, 30, 40 hours a week into social media and those more short-term lead gen strategies, email marketing and things like that. And you may or may not get results. There's so many different ways to market online these days. I'm a bit of a dinosaur, I think, when it comes to because I had been in marketing 20 years and I focused on the longer term stuff. So I lost sight now of what goes on in the short term marketing space. And you could put ads into that block and things like that. But yeah, you're talking like there's a heavy short term lift, 30 plus hours a week potentially with social and short term. Midterm, launching a successful podcast, writing a book, maybe launching a YouTube channel. You're talking maybe 8 to 12 months, for example, of building up the assets, getting them out into the market, leveraging some of your short-term noise that you're putting out there to then drive people into your sort of midterm, building the audiences for those assets. Partnerships is interesting though, because I probably only spend about 2 to 3 hours a week on partnerships. Yet it's by far and away, like when it rains, it pours with partnerships. It's probably the least amount of input for the maximum amount of output. It's just you don't know when those opportunities are going to land. But there is one thing more important than that. And I think it's more mindset related than it is like practical, tactical business stuff. So there's a platform a friend of mine developed called HelpBank. It's helpbank.com and there's no A in help in bank. So it's helpbnk.com. And essentially he set it up as like a social platform. So experts like yourself, like myself, can go on there, and then people starting out could go and ask questions, and then they get answered by the experts. The experts win prizes for helping more people. So there's this circular sort of economy. There was one question which somebody asked the other day. I forget what the question was about, but I put my 2 cents in it, my 20 years worth of experience. And there's a leaderboard on there, and I'm number 4 for people who've given advice on there. And I do this all for free, by the way. I don't get anything like, financially out of it. So I put my answer in there. It was detailed, and I shared a worksheet for them. I said, look, this is the way I would do it. And their first response was, no, I'm not going to do that. That sounds like a joke and a waste of time. And I'm like, immediately, I was like, and this is somebody who's starting out, come onto a platform to ask for help. They get the help, and then they ignore it. So I think my advice is, mindset wise, for if you're just starting out and want to figure out where to invest, is be very open-minded. You're going to have to try out and experiment with lots of different things to find the things which work for you. And it's, again, this is very marketing focused, but marketing wise for me, podcast interviews, my books and speaking engagements work really well for me. You could call that my marketing mix. If I do those 3 things consistently, I have a very prosperous coaching practice. But it's taken me like 1,001 experiments of trying out different marketing things and failing at a vast majority of them, doing okay at some, and then doing really well with these 3 to figure it out. And I think you need to be very open-minded, listen to feedback, try out the things that other experts are advising you to do. Just be open-minded to receiving help.
One of the things that you mentioned, you have published multiple books. In one of those books, you talk about how you can serve less clients, but actually double your income while serving just a portion or a fraction of the clients you previously had.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah. There's 3 different ways to grow a business. The first one is the accountant's favorite. So that's where you save some money. So you cut as many costs as you can. So the thought process is that creates extra profit. You take the profit, reinvest it back into your business, and away you go. Again, short-term thinking, because there's only so much cost you can strip out of a business. There's only so much profit you can then reinvest without it impacting the business negatively. It has its place. During the pandemic, nobody knew what was going to happen. So a lot of business owners cut back just to protect themselves. And it was a very smart move. I think when things are good, it's short-term thinking. Second way, and this is where most people get a bit caught out. They're like, oh, I'll just go and get more clients. How many times have we seen it, Scherrie, where there's like $1 million a year business and they're losing $100,000 a year, like net losses, not net profits, right? Now I'll be like, yeah, I do 7 figures. And you're like, yeah, but you're not making any money, right? If that business gets more clients, what are they doing? They're amplifying a loss-making business. It doesn't make sense to go and get more clients if your business model is fundamentally flawed, if it's not profitable, not sustainable. But you do still need to do marketing. It is important. You do obviously need to enroll some clients. My view is we go business model first. Let's fix whatever inherent problems are within the business. Let's focus on profitability and sustainability. Let's see if we can go from a loss-making business to maybe out of that $1 million business. Let's see if we can get our profits to 200K or 300K a year. And again, now we've got money to reinvest back into the business. We know that if we start to scale it, we're scaling a profitable enterprise. Each new client you add in at that point, the business should be better. Small business owners especially get tricked. It's like Pavlov's dog, where Pavlov, wasn't it, who rang the bell and the dog came to get a treat. Then they rang the bell and there was no treat, but the dog still did the thing. It's the same with business owners. If every time they enroll a client, the bell rings and they get this little reward receptor in their head, like ping off, oh yeah, I got a client. And all the money gets collected in from all of those clients. And most people aren't savvy enough around the numbers to look at it and go, oh, shoot, we're not actually making any money here. We're losing money. But Pavlov's dog, I'll get another client. Ding, another client. Ding, another client. Oh my God, I'm so tired and stressed. I've got no time. Why am I saying ding? Oh, another client. Ding. So I call it the sales cycle of doom. Sell, deliver, sell, deliver, sell, deliver. And they're just constantly like chasing the next client. I've seen so many business owners burn out because they're on this marketing treadmill of enrolling more clients and haven't fixed the problems in the business. So my view is, imagine the business owner at the center of this gravitational field. Everything's going around. It's very frenetic, very exhausting, like no breaks. And then all of a sudden our rocket ship breaks free of that gravitational field. Our universe just expands that little bit. So now in this scenario, we've got a little bit more time to deliver a little bit more value to our client, which gets them better results and outcomes, which creates more money on the back end because they stick around for longer because they're getting better results. It also makes you more referable because you're putting more time into that client, building a better relationship, getting better results. They talk about you more to their friends. So by raising your prices, you create this really holistic cycle of events which happen within a business. But small business owners don't like it. Because rather than it going ding, ding, and getting all of these clients, it goes ding, ding. It's like slower. Everything slows down and they don't like that.
One thing that I think some service providers struggle with, they understand value pricing and charge what you're worth. So they understand that maybe doubling or increasing their pricing can give them premium positioning. But what does that do to existing clients? And how do you not scare away those existing clients or your day ones, people that have grown with you through your coaching business or through the growth of your firm or agency?
Oh, I love this question. With existing clients, it's great. You've got the delineation there between like new clients and they haven't been anchored to a specific price point. So it's like fair game. You can set your prices at that point. But existing clients, you've anchored them into specific price points. I liken it to being a PR campaign with existing clients. If you've worked out that your prices have to go up because that's what your business coach has said or your accountant, or you've worked it out for yourself, you've done the numbers, most clients are happy with their prices going up. They just need a bit of notice. So it might be that you say to them, listen, our prices will be going up from the 1st of September. We can talk through what your new rate card's going to be. And so you go on this PR campaign with them. The biggest mistake, though, that people make, especially if they've got lots of customers, they just blast out like a Facebook post or an email saying, hey, here, well, prices are going up. Here's the new rates. And they don't give their clients enough warning. And it's no client or customer is ever going to email you back or message you back and thank you for raising their prices. So the ones you typically tend to hear more from are the ones who are disgruntled because maybe they weren't experiencing the value that you deliver initially anyway, but they just like to complain or whatever. And then you're left with a dozen complaints about pricing and wondering whether you've made the right decision. But what some statistics for you. So a lot of people assume, and it all comes down to numbers, like everything in business is about numbers. A lot of people assume that when you raise your prices by just 5%, that you've got to sell 5% more to make, or you can sell 5% less to make the same money. Actually, there's this compounding effect which happens as you go down through the profit and loss accounts with your expenses. And so if you raise your prices by just 5%, you actually can allow for 11% fewer clients and make the same profit. When you get to a 10% price increase, you can have 16% fewer clients and make the same net profit. When you get to 15% of a price increase, you're talking like 25% fewer clients. So you don't need a big price increase, and you can have far fewer clients and still make the same amount of money. And I think a lot of people just don't understand the economics of how it all stacks up. That's why I'm very much like a dream business, or coming back to your question around like, how do you migrate people up through the price? From my experience, most businesses, you can actually increase your prices by 20, 30, 40, 50%, and you won't lose very many clients, probably because you've been underselling your services in the first place. And there's one slight caveat to this. Bizarrely, I've ended up working with, I'm an associate coach on the dog grooming program. So people who run dog grooming businesses. And like they have little old Doris with their like 15-year-old Westie. He's old and decrepit. They can't really afford it because they're on a pension, but they still want little Wilbur to get his groom once every couple of months. You can allow for these things. I call them love clients. You don't want all of your clients to be love clients because otherwise they're not making enough money. But if 5 or 10% of your clients are these love clients where you just grandfather them in at your existing, like their existing prices, that's absolutely fine, so long as it's not hurting profitability.
So, Robin, you have a 5-step partnership approach. And from what I can tell, it has yielded massive results in terms of networking and transformations in the lives of your clients. But beyond adding value, what do you think are some of the things that entrepreneurs miss strategically when they are working out these 5 steps?
So I think one of the biggest things that people miss with partnerships, the biggest mistake is, to be fair, I made this mistake for many years, was this idea of partnerships being commercial. So people think of partnerships more of what's in it for me and what's in it for you. That's the wrong way to look at it. A true partnership should be what's in it for you. And I've learned probably the hard way, and maybe I'm a slow learner, maybe it's taken me too long to realize this, but it was sort of 18 years into my business journey where I soon realized that actually money comes as a byproduct of doing a job well done. So if you pay into a partnership graciously, adding enormous amounts of value, being helpful, and things like that, and it's done from a virtuous place, you can get great results from it. And so I about 2 years ago, it was around about this time 2 years ago, I decided I was going to give up on social media because it was just taking up so much time. And I was very much in that Noah's Ark style growth with my audience, like one by one, and it felt like quite a grind. But I was like, I've got to do something else. What should I do? A very good friend of mine is a guy called Simon Alexander-Ong. So he's a fantastic coach. He's got a wonderful book called Energize. He'd be great for this podcast, actually. We knew each other for a long time, and he kept on showing up with pictures of him with Simon Sinek, Richard Branson, and all these really famous entrepreneurs. I was like, Simon, how do you do it? How do you get these partnerships? And annoyingly, he didn't tell me, right? He just said, Robin, you're a smart guy. Just watch what I do and see if you can do the same. And so as I started to pay attention to how Simon was showing up in the world, I had these moments of, oh, God, it makes so much sense. The first thing I noticed was Simon was super intentional about who he wanted to build these partnerships with. The people he wanted to build partnerships with they already had large numbers of audience. They had this personal brand built, and it was big audiences of like hundreds of thousands or millions of people. They were very much aligned with his values. He was very specific so he ended up getting Simon Sinek to write a piece of praise for his book. And I was like, how on earth did you do that? It's really obvious, Robin. What do you notice about? And I was like, it's not obvious. What do you notice about it? I said, you both published with Penguin Random House. He said, I was really intentional. I had 4 offers from publishers, and Penguin Random House was the one that I wanted because they'd signed Simon Sinek. So he was intentional about not just the people, but who he was building relationships with to make things work within his business. So my version of that is write down a list of 10 people who you would love to build partnerships with, that you vibe with, you get what their mission and values and purpose are. You can see yourself helping build their brand without it taking any energy away from you and without any expectation of money. On my list, I had, and I don't know whether people will know these people or not, but these were people who are important in my world. Chris Doe, who runs a fantastic YouTube channel for creatives, and that was what my background used to be. There's Simon Squibb, who runs Help Bank, I mentioned earlier on. There was a couple of guys up north in the UK, Andrew and Pete, who run a fantastic marketing conference. This guy called Dan Priestley, multiple bestsellers. I made this list of people. I was just like, these are cool people. I'd love to hang out with them. The second thing was, I noticed that Simon kept on having selfies with these people. So I put two and two together and worked out that the reason he was able to create these partnerships because he actually showed up in their world. I noticed that Simon essentially was going around having selfies taken with these people. And this was like a really important clue. So after being intentional, step number 2 is get in the same room. So if you want to meet amazing people, they are busy people, but they often run events, speak on the stage, they do book launches and various things like that. And they're out on the circuit. And like we can do Zoom calls, voice notes, or send messages and emails, but meeting somebody, shaking their hand, looking into their eyes, and telling them what an amazing job they're doing is like 1,000 emails or 1,000 DMs. It just cuts through all of the noise. If you go to an event and you want to meet somebody, sit in the front row. Normally when they finish their talk, like they'll jump off the stage and you can run up and ask them questions or take a selfie with them. Like too many people, and this is the fearless bit, too many people just sit in like the back row and be a passenger at these events. And they're too afraid to go in case they think they might look a bit stupid and go and speak to their hero or whatever. And I'm like, no, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't put yourself out there in these situations and meet these people, you won't be able to build this partnership with them. You've got to go and meet them. The second tip is just get in the same room, actually get out from behind these computer screens and telephones and things like that, and actually go to events and meet people, because you can build real relationships with people. The third step was around adding value. Most people go into it like, oh, what are they going to do for me? Oh, how do I get on their podcast so they can promote me? And I'm like, no, I always lead now with like, how can I help you? What can I do for you to make this like the best experience for you as I possibly can? Yeah, there is that little 5% of me, which is it would be nice if something happened and you could help me out too, but I don't do it for that reason. And when you detach from outcomes, it's amazing what happens. So an example of this, I went to an event and there's a guy called Ali Abdal and he's got about 6 million subscribers. But he's running this event and there's 600 people there. And I'm like, I could see all these people. I just look lost. So I put down my coat and my bag and I'm like, hey, look, loser over there. The coffee station's over there. Ali's coming out here to sign his books afterwards. There's the auditorium. So I started giving people directions. And Ali's general manager comes over and he's like, oh, hey, Rob, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. He's like, why are you helping people? Because you're a guest. You should be like going in and, you know, I was like, they all look lost. So I just thought I'd be helpful, like give them some directions. He went to walk away. And then took 3 steps and he turned around and he came back and he's like, oh, Rob, by the way, whilst I've got you, there was a pricing thing that Ali and me wanted to talk to you about. Are you around afterwards? Could we like pick your brains? So, yeah, absolutely. That opened up the conversation, which led to me helping him and his team out, coaching some of their team. I did it all for free just because I wanted to be involved in their business and their brand. And eventually then it led to me guesting on Ali's Deep Dive podcast. And that one podcast produced 3,000 inquiries for my business. And still to this day, I still get inquiries through. I think dollar-wise, it was about $300,000 worth of new business for my humble little coaching practice. So that process of adding value and helping people is, again, a massive step because it's just supporting their brand and like doing it for genuine reasons, not to manipulate and try and get these things, but actually genuinely, I just love what Ali and his team and these other people are all about. And then the fourth step's a little bit trickier. For example, if you can't get to the main person because they're busy, Ali's got a team of 30 people. So I used to get like long WhatsApp messages from now. If I message him, I just get 1-word answers because he's so busy. So I have to build a relationship with his team. So that's what I did with Angus on his team. And so I call it finding your inside man. It's imagine you're going to rob a bank, like the inside job. You've got to find your inside man. And there's a great book about this called The Third Door. I think the author was called Alex Benayan. It's like a brilliant book. And the concept behind The Third Door was like, you go to an exclusive nightclub and they've got 3 doors. So you have the first door, which is like where the average person hangs out, big long queue around the corner. You got the second door, which is like the red carpet and the red rope. And if you're a VIP, they'll let you in. And then you got the third door because down the alleyway, around the back of the club, your friends working behind the bar sneak out and let you in through the third door. So finding your inside man in terms of these partnerships is like really important. And again, an example of this, I was at an event in Dubai at the start of the year. Simon Squibb was busy doing book signings, but I noticed his team sat down quietly, just probably having a break. So I thought, great opportunity to go and annoy them and get to know them. Sorry, I meant. But I had with me one of Ali's team just by chance. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. There's the guy who produces Simon Squibb's YouTube channel. And I've got the guy here who produces Ali Abdal's YouTube channel. We used to. They should speak because this is like a really great opportunity. So I went over and was chatting to Simon Squibb's team. And we ended up chatting for half an hour. So that's me like investing into the team. And the thing is, imagine you've got like an influencer or the person who's head of the company or whatever. All of the eyeballs are normally on them. So when you go and acknowledge the team, they're like, oh my God, somebody's like speaking to me. This is great. And then now those two guys are working together. So Ali's guy is now consulting with Simon's team. So great. So I've also gifted them a bit of a silver platter, which is the next step. But at the end of it, Simon, with his book launch, I just said to the guys, oh, what's your book review strategy? So I've got several books. So I know how to market the book. And they're like, book review strategy? What do you mean? I was like, you're going to have like hundreds of thousands of people buying Simon's book. You want it to last for as long as you can on Amazon and Waterstones and the different bookstores. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I didn't know there was such a thing as it. So I was able to give them a quick 101 on book review strategy to elongate how long a book's in the charts. He's frantically sending messages to his team on WhatsApp. So again, there's like adding value, working with the team, not the main guy, finding that inside person. And then the final step I touched on it was the silver platter. So sometimes you'll get on really great, but there's no real opportunities in the partnership. And a lot of people, they just disappear off into the night at that point. My view is I can still add some value here. Chris Do and Ali haven't done a pod swap yet. So I'm like, selfishly, I think it would be a wonderful conversation to see two of my heroes get on the same podcast together. But I would hope other people would enjoy that as well. But you add 6 million subscribers to 2.5 million subscribers, and it's like a beautiful thing. So behind the scenes, because I know both of their teams, I'm like trying to get them together to do this collaboration. My hope is that, one, it's a great conversation. Everybody gets to enjoy it. But maybe when they hook up, they're like, oh, how did this happen? And they're like, oh, this Robin dude like introduced us on WhatsApp. Don't you remember? So I get the acknowledgement, and building that relationship with both people at the same time doesn't necessarily directly benefit me. But this process, so these 5 steps, being intentional, being in the same room, being helpful, finding your inside man, handing out the silver platter, it's got me that podcast interview. It's got me my dream speaking gig later on this year at Atomicon in front of 1,500 people, which I'm absolutely chuffed about. It's got me a yacht in Dubai for 3 hours with Chris Do. He couldn't get off the boat, so I had 3 hours to actually pick his brains and talk to him about business and stuff like that. It's created these really cool opportunities for me that just... the non-fearless version of me, maybe 5 years ago, would never have asked for any of this stuff. I'd have been far too afraid to actually like put myself out there. And I always used to put these people on a pedestal and think, oh, they're up there. Who am I to go and be in the same sort of room as them? I realized like through this process, they're just humans. They'll have their worries, their anxieties, their fears, their like insecurities, you name it. And actually, I can help them. I know that when I was in Dubai and Chris invited me to come and co-facilitate a workshop with him, I only said about 3 sentences, but I know it meant something to him to have me in the same room. It gave him confidence to be able to deliver a great 4-hour workshop. So there's a ton of power like behind partnerships when you get them right.
One of the ways that you help people, because everyone, does not have personal access to you, but you've written several books.
Yes.
And in those books, you have put together some frameworks for how to improve your business and how to implement some of these things tactically and practically. Tell us a little bit about your author journey and some of the things that you've done to get some of those books out there. I know your Take Your Shot book has almost 500, I think, Amazon reviews, and that's not even accounting for the personal praise that the book has gotten.
Yeah. So the writing a book is a journey. I know that's very cliched. I know a lot of people say that. So I did my first book, Online Business Startup, I can't believe it's now nearly 10 years old, actually, that book. And originally I was really frustrated with the web design industry. That was my agency days. And I wanted to write a book to give other web designers the confidence to be able to like grow their business. And I didn't realize it at the time, but charge their worth and build a really strong brand. And I did a book writing, like a mentor day. And again, one of my heroes, Daniel Priestley, was sat behind me and I asked a question. I said, because originally it's going to be like called Why Websites Fail or something like that. But I put my hand up and I said, I've got a question. There's some things I want to write about that I wish somebody had told me 10 years ago in my business journey. Can I put those in the book? It's not about websites, it's about business. And Dan Priestley behind was just like, just effing write it, mate. He's an Aussie, by the way. It's a terrible Australian accent, but just effing write it, mate. Just put it in the book. Like, you can always come back and write more about it later. That one chapter became 10 chapters that I put into the book. So that's why it's online business startups. The business piece was all of the stuff I wished I'd known when I started business in my 20s. And then obviously taking that business online and the marketing branding piece for it. What happened though was that book was very aligned to my agency work, but when I sold the agency and then transitioned in coaching, like it didn't really serve its purpose. However, I'm one of the few authors I think out there that's actually made a decent income from the book. That book sold about 15,000 or 20,000 copies. It was a bestseller on Amazon for 2.5 years in small business and entrepreneurship categories. Most people get a bestseller for 2 hours and then that's it. Mine was up there for 2.5 years. I've probably made about $200,000, I would say, over the lifespan of it. Book launch wise, though, a major part of the strategy, and I mentioned this about Simon Squibb's book and the reviews, actually take your shots, I think approaching 900 and something now reviews worldwide. But a review, once you've written the book, that's only like half of it. Most people write the book and they're like, oh, great, like that's it. My book's out there now. Everybody's going to find it. I'll be a New York Times bestseller, whatever. That's not even the half of it. You have to market the book afterwards. Nobody is going to do that for you. Great if you're an influencer with 1 million followers, but most people aren't. Reviews, though, tend to give it the most amount of longevity. So I've always focused my sort of marketing campaigns around launch day. So let's get 100 or 200 people to buy the Kindle. Let's do a deal. But then straight away within the following month, can we get 100 reviews ASAP? Pivoting to Take Your Shot, the more recent book, that was essentially, it was a bit commercial. Online business startup was expensive to give away. It's £6 a copy, $8 or something like that a copy plus postage. It's expensive as a marketing asset. So I was like, the book needs to be cheaper. So I need to be in control of print and not have to give 50% away to my publisher in royalties. So very commercial. It needs to be a short read because nobody likes a big book. Everybody's busy these days. So 100 pages. And also it needs to be under 250 grams because that goes into a slightly cheaper postage category. So I was thinking very commercially with this one, but also obviously deliver enormous value within those 100 pages. So, and I'd run hundreds of coaching sessions by the time I wrote it. So I took the 5 most common things that I spoke with clients about and I put them into Take Your Shot in the simplest form that I could, which is telling it as a story. So you'll notice most of the way I answer questions like on a podcast is I tell anecdotes and stories and I talk about people and it brings it to life. I think a lot of people when they write books end up being very dry how-to books. And the most wonderful comments I get about the book is first with 2 comments. One is, oh my God, I felt like Russ, who's the character in the story, like in the first couple of pages, I felt like that was me. He wrote the book about me. And God, I even get a bit emotional about it. The second thing is it made me cry. Imagine that, writing a book. I never thought I could write a book that would have that emotional impact on people when they read it. Because what I do is like the first 74 pages out of the 100 are based on fact. It was the work I did with Russ as his coach and helped him productize his service and sell it, like price it for more and sell it higher. By page 74, we end up going into more of like Russ's dreams and aspirations and things like that. Even me now, even like remembering that process of going through and writing it. So I did have Russ's dreams, but ultimately when you write a book in the form of a story, what resources do you have to dig into when you're trying to express an emotional feelings or things like that? Like a lot of it's based on my own, which is probably why there's a lot of stuff going on for me when I talk about it.
Now, one thing that you mentioned with the 100-page book, are you saying gone are the days of 400 plus business book models?
I think they have had their day. I'm not suggesting that like they're done. I think a book really needs to be as long as it needs to be. There are people who just write these ridiculously long books and you can read them and they get boring because they're repetitive and there's a lot of waffle in there. I believe you need to condense a book down to be as long as it needs to be to deliver like the outcome. So I don't think they're done, but I also think that people are busier these days. And even I listen to a lot of audiobooks and I do look at the runtime on the audiobook. And if I'm like, God, this one's 12 hours, because I listen to audiobooks in the school run. So I'm like, God, that's going to take me like 2 months to get through that with school runs over the next whatever. So I think length does have a big part to play. Interesting story. So this is one of my favorite books, business books. It's called Detox, Declutter and Dominate, written by Perry Marshall. Brilliant consultant based in the States. And if you look at this, Scherrie, look how thin that is. 36 pages. It's in a workbook sort of format. Lots of pictures, my favorite. It's really well designed and illustrated and everything else. Like it's super easy to get into. And he's got 7 steps to build a Renaissance business. So you can go and read a step, learn from it, implement it. He wrote this because all of the feedback about his 440-page long book was it was boring. It was really hard to read. We could only do like a chapter at a time. That's all we could stomach. I'm sure there was some good stuff in there, but we didn't get to it because we just had enough of the book. So what he did is he took the guts of that 440-page thing and shoved it into 36 pages. And I give this, whenever a client joins my program, they get a welcome pack. And this is one of I think there's 8 or 9 books or something that I put into it, my favorite books. Still one of my favorites. And I'm actually in the process, probably actually by the time this comes out, I'm writing my own version of this at the moment. So I think by the time the podcast gets published, that should be live, but I don't want to promise it to people and then it not be ready.
Look, we can definitely update that with a link whenever you have it available. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things going back to your most recent book is that not just with Russ, but with other people you work with, you help service providers productize their business. How important is that? And at what stage of the business should a service provider be looking to take that pivot?
Immediately. The moment you start a service, if you're doing something heavily commoditized, I don't know, cleaning or maybe garden services, there's these low skilled sort of labor. I think sometimes it's hard to necessarily break out of hourly rates. It's quite traditional the way certain things are charged. For service providers, especially in the coaching or consulting space or creative space, freelancers, web designers, graphic designers, videographers, you want to package things up. The main rationale behind it is time is limited. It's a finite resource. And most people of working age probably base their working life around about 160 hours worth of work a month, 40 hours a week, 4 weeks or 4.2 weeks a month. And so if you're only charging, say, for example, if you wanted to earn $10,000 a month and you're only charging, this is not necessarily the best analogy. Let's say you're charging $20 an hour for whatever it is you do, but you want to earn 10K. 160 times by $20 an hour, if you're working every hour that you possibly can, your earnings potential is capped. So the most you could earn in that month is like $3,200. I think if I've done the maths right, somebody might correct me on that, but it's certainly a lot less than 10. So then there's also, imagine you've got 3 web designers, right? So Scherrie, you're in the market for a website. And web designer number 1 comes along and they're charging $50 an hour, and they reckon it's going to take 20 hours to do it. So you say, great, $1,000 for websites, and off they go, start developing it, and then you don't hear from them for 3 months. So they've taken on too many clients because they're too cheap, and 2, they didn't tell you this at the time, but they're not very good because they've only just started building websites. So they've had loads of problems and it's taken them longer. So they come back and then you go, where's the blog and the shopping cart you promised me? And it's, oh, I've forgotten that. I'm going to have to charge you extra for that though. And you're like, extra? I thought we agreed on $1,000. And they go, oh, reluctantly they agree and they say, okay, I'll go away and build it. But now you're slightly baffled because it's costing you the same, but it's taking you far longer and it's not as good as you thought. They're frustrated because now they're not getting paid what they think they're worth. So that's our first clue. Hourly rates don't really work. Second side, web designer comes along and they don't know what Scherrie and Robin know about so they're still charging $50 an hour. They don't know what we know about pricing, but they're good. They turn your website around in 7 days. It only takes them 10 hours of billable time. They've got everything. The site looks brilliant. It's fast. It's got the shopping cart and the blog. And you're like, this is wonderful. But yet they only get, because it's taken them half the time, they only get paid $500. So why does the guy who's more experienced get paid half of what the lesser experienced person gets paid who delivers a poor quality output? So that's our second clue. Hourly rates don't work. And then the final clue then, and this is what I help people to figure out, is where is their superpower? What is the outcome or result of the website which they build, or the coaching which they deliver, or the consulting which they offer out to corporate clients? So web designer number 3 comes along and they're like, Scherrie, we're going to nail this for you. Like in 72 hours, we'll have your website live. Within the first 30 days, we'll have 20 qualified leads for your business. And we guarantee that you'll get a return on investment from the money within the first 90 days. If we can't do that for you, we'll refund all of your money and we'll pay you an extra $1,000 for wasting your time. So you could go and spend that on the other 2 if you wanted to. And you're like, wow, that sounds really compelling. But they're focused on lead gen. You need clients for your business. They can generate leads for your business. Great. But their websites are 10K. So it's fixed price package, but this is what the outcome's going to be. Fear comes in for a lot of people. I can't charge that much. Everybody else is charging $50 an hour. So a lot of the work which I do is, right, let's figure out your superpower, focus on the outcome and amazing outcomes and results you deliver for your clients, that remarkable sort of outcome, and then learn to articulate the value around that. How do you express the value? How do you tell the client what an amazing job you do without it sounding cocky or arrogant or whatever? And then also a major part of it is understanding like whether that you can actually generate an ROI for the client. Because you can sell 10 grand websites, but if you're selling that to a freelancer who's only making $1,500 a month, they're doing it part-time and whatever, it's not best fit. So also you have to find alignment with the right sorts of clients who have that money to invest, who you can get that sort of result or outcome.
So, Robin, as technology changes, as the political landscape changes, and as the world becomes just really more integrated, what's next for Fearless Business Coaching? Where can we expect to see you moving your practice and the things that you're offering to the world as you continue to make a global impact?
I'm possibly slightly biased, Sherry, but my program's great. We get great results for our clients. It was launched in 2019, the version of it that kind of I'm still using. And I've started to realize that I've got more gray hairs in my beard now than I had in 2019. And my videos in the portal look a bit old now. So it's simple things. Sometimes you don't need like wholesale changes or to create new and like fantastical things. I feel what I need to do is give what I've got a bit of an overhaul. I've obviously learned a lot in the last 6 years, and I think I can pass that on to the clients that we've got. So I absolutely love, the client base which I've developed. Look, I'm going to go a bit further into the future. This isn't thinking beyond this year and maybe into 3 or 5 years' time. I've grown an online business, but I still have this passion I love being around people, and especially in like when you're in that mastermind coaching space where it's like everybody's like synapses are just all buzzing and firing off and like all the insights are coming. So I have a dream in like maybe 5 years that I own a villa in, I don't know, somewhere hot, Ibiza or Greece or somewhere like that. And then my clients can fly out. I have an open house for 3 or 4 weeks of the year. Clients can come out for a day or a week or a month if they want to. We just hang out and coach and do great stuff. So at the moment, I'm in the process of growing those multiple streams of income and wealth. I have a second business which is doing well. We've just crossed over £10,000 a month, about $13,000-ish a month, and it's like monthly recurring. So that's growing at a steady and nice pace alongside the coaching business. And then I practice what I preach. If I reach a point where I've got lots of demand within Fearless HQ, then I raise my prices for the coaching which I deliver. And for me, it's not about like we enroll about 20 clients a year into our practice. So there's not many. What those 20 people pay for though is that buys me back then the time to be able to go out and give away books, speak at events, do collaborations with amazing people like Simon Squibb and Help Bank and Christo and stuff like that, where people who can't always afford coaching still need this business advice. So I'm also on that. I want to spend more time giving back into the business community. I haven't quite fully formed like what that looks like, but time will hopefully tell.
The great thing about technology is that it used to be that before we had social media, you had to write a letter, pick up your phone on your landline and call people. But now we have tools like YouTube and just other platforms. And so you're doing some really amazing things going forward with YouTube. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mentioned about marketing assets earlier on. I don't know why, but video eluded me for a very long period of time. And then it's interesting hanging out with other creators where you've got like likes of Ali Abdaal with 6 million subscribers and just creating this amazing content. I've been really inspired to put my own content out there, and like when I learn something new, share it with my audience and things like that. So yeah, I'm on a mission. I haven't quite got to the point where I'm doing a video every single week, but we're mostly putting out sort of 2, 3, 4 videos every month now. And it's typically around just some of the concepts we've been talking about today. So pricing and sales and marketing and things like that. I'm just about to cross over like 4,000 subscribers. So I'm like, yeah, it's starting to work now. I feel like there's this payoff. And again, it's like been a year-long journey. We've uploaded about 30 videos, and that my editors just sent me one today, and I tell a lot of stories, especially at the start of the videos, and they sent me these really cool like AI images, like storytelling. It's epic, like the way they've edited it. And I sent them a voice note like, oh my God, guys, this is so good. We need to do more stuff like this. So yeah, I'm very excited about the YouTube journey, but there's a personal side to it as well. My girls are 10 and 8, and my dad passed away 13 years ago. And you think this is before the smartphone technology that we've got now, only on the cusp when dad passed away. And so I have very few photos of dad. I've certainly got no videos really of my dad. I've still got his number in my phone and his voice note saved on my phone from before he passed away. It means a lot to me. If something happens to me in the future, I want my girls to be able to like Google me. I will do some personal messages to them. But what I've done with the videos is I've got these little messages seeded into my videos. So if they happen to watch them, they'll hear me talk about them. And I think that's just a really nice thing for them to remember me by. And oh, look, daddy was like this really cool business coach and he wrote books and stuff like that. They think it's a bit of a joke that I'm a YouTuber with 4,000 subscribers. I think it's really funny, but they're only 10 and 8, bless them.
Look, don't tease it with YouTube channel. How do we find it? What's the name of the channel?
So the channel's at Robin M. Waite with an E on the end of it, Waite. Or you can just jump onto YouTube sort of home screen and search for Robin Waite and you'll be able to find the channel on there.
So, look, if you're listening to this podcast or watching the video, please go check it out, subscribe, and comment, and let Robin know where you found out about the YouTube channel right here at the Play Big Faster podcast. Robin, thanks so much for being with us for our 200th episode. You have been awesome.
I said it at the start, I feel very privileged that you invited me back, Scherrie. So it's been a pleasure again to sit and chat with you. Thank you.
And to everyone else, until next time, play big faster.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Play Big Faster podcast. Want more entrepreneurial content?
I like this.
Make sure to subscribe for future episodes.
Already subscribed.
I just clicked on it.
Don't forget to like and leave a review. Share with a friend that needs this in their life.
I think you need this more than I.
Oh, and make sure to follow Scherrie on IG at Scherrie Speaks. And remember to play big faster.